Hi everyone, welcome again to another Teacher Joseph live event. And we're here today to take your questions that you might have about learning English. Same as last time, you can ask me anything related to language learning, English culture, why we do things in specific ways. And I'll be online for approximately the next hour. Now, for those of you who haven't been to one of my live events before, they're very informal and they're here just to allow you to ask any questions that you might have about learning. That could be anything about English culture, English language. If you want to ask me anything about doing the English exams, then I'll try to help. So all you have to do is just put a little comment in the question box, and I'll do my best to try to help. Okay, so any questions you have, English language, anything related to the English world or exams, I'm here to help you with that. Okay. And in between your questions, we'll be looking at some news stories, what's happening during the week here in the UK. And also, I just want to share with you my ambitions and hopes to take you forward in your learning journey. It's been quite a busy week for me. Many of you are coming back after the holiday season of Christmas and New Year. Can you believe it? That we're almost at the end of January already. Quite frightening, really, isn't it? Absolutely frightening. People are always asking me, how can they improve their English quickly? Because we've all got deadlines to meet. We've all got things that we want to do. And many of you are looking for this really quick way to get your English going. And almost certainly, one thing that you all can do is look at your stress level, because in talking to many of you online, I can see that you're spending maybe an hour in front of a book, but what happens is at the end of that hour, you discover that you've learned nothing. You look at the grammar book, you think, oh, this is great. The hour passes, you're looking at your phone during your learning session. You think it's great, I've spent an hour with a book. Do you remember anything? No. Does your writing improve? Actually, no. And it causes a lot of stress inside because many of you don't know what you should be doing in order to make your English better. Well, one thing is for sure, and that is to start off with a very clear understanding as to why you're learning. If it's for a job somewhere else, perhaps it's for family or personal reasons. The clear motive is always good, and then the next thing to consider is your own stress level, because the best way to come to learning is with a relaxed mind. And that same kind of mind that you get when you're on holiday. You wake up in the morning and you think, I have nothing to do today except wander around this beautiful city. You're aiming for that kind of mindset because that will give you freedom just to learn. And that's a very different thing from looking at your watch and thinking, oh dear, I have a meeting in 1 hour. How am I going to get my English lesson into the day? I can only do it 12 to 1. Those kind of stresses aren't helpful. And the other thing, of course, you need to be looking at is your material that you're studying from. It might just not be the right material for you. And that's something you need to agree in advance with your teacher, just to make sure that you have a plan to be moving forward. And your teacher should be supporting you with that. Right, well, I've said enough. Right now, I'm waiting for your questions. If you have anything, please do send me a message with anything you want to ask me. And I'm here waiting. And in the meantime, we're going to look at a few news stories from during the week. Well, one of the biggest news stories, of course, was Donald Trump's inauguration. Hard word, that, isn't it? Of him becoming president. That's proving to be very controversial for many people. So that's making our news at the moment, and it's been a headline for the last 3 or 4 days. So that's there. But around the UK, I'm just going to have a look specifically at the UK headlines. Okay, so let's see. Right, there's a lot of talk in our UK headlines today about some different stories, and one of them is about a very unfortunate story, this, but something that happened in a place called Southport last year, where 3 girls were murdered. Very sad story. I'm not going to read it. I'm just giving you the headline. There's other stories here as well. None of them are cheerful, I have to say. The only one that perhaps is a little bit more upbeat is that there's a new stamp collection coming out. So if you collect stamps, as many people do, 12 stamps are being issued to celebrate the UK's National Museum of Arms and Armour. We'll come back to that in a minute, but I'm here to take your questions today. Anything you want to ask about learning English, English life and culture, perhaps you're doing some exams. I'm here to answer any questions that you have about your learning journey. So if you have any questions at all, please do send them over and I'll do my best to answer them. And I'll be here until probably around 11 o'clock UK time, which is 45 minutes. So I'll be waiting for your questions. Let's look at this news story from the UK. There's a new stamp collection being issued to celebrate the UK's national museums, very specifically on their collections of armour. Now, in the old days, when we used to have wars, I'm sure you've seen the pictures. The men used to wear these bits of iron over their faces and also over their bodies, you know. So they're issuing postage stamps to celebrate those. It says here, Royal Mail have unveiled 12 stamps being issued to celebrate the UK's National Museum of Arms and Armour. So we'll read more about that in a second. Oh, we have a comment here. Someone saying hello. Now, I don't know who that is because it's written in Russian. But if you'd like to tell me your name in English, and if you have any questions, I'll be very happy to help. So please do send over any questions that you have, and tell me your name as well, so I can see. I'm afraid my Russian is really poor. Right. So it says here the museum collection, consisting of 75,000 objects of armour, is displayed in 3 museum sites: London, Leeds, and Fareham. And the Royal Mail, that's our postage company, they've said that they're going to unveil, that just means present, 12 stamps to the public for sale. It doesn't say when. Oh, it does. The stamps will be available from 30th of January. And there's pictures of them here. They look very nice, actually. There's a European sword. There's a couple of them of men covered in armor. So very interesting. Very interesting. If you're a stamp collector, as many of you are, you might be interested in those. You can order them online. And of course, our stamps also have pictures of our king in the corner, So that's a big news story here today. It says here, each object of armor, the pictures will be on the stamps, tells a story, and we hope that these stunning pieces, stunning means something which is very, very nice, will inspire curiosity about the role of arms and armor. It's a bit dark because arms are weapons and armor is what we wear or used to wear to protect ourselves from those. Um, so yeah, but if you like history, you want to see these stamps. They look very, very nice. So that's one of the news headlines in the UK today, that the post office, the Royal Mail, are producing a new set of stamps. Right, what else do we have here? The Millennium Bridge. Oh yeah, for those of you who've been to London, you'll know what the Millennium Bridge is. It's the bridge that looks very modern. Most of our bridges around London look very old, but there's one that looks very modern, and I think it's the one that goes over to Waterloo, and that's receiving a refurbishment. Not yet, but it will be, and it's worth 3.5 million. Ooh, that's eye-watering, 3.5 million. Um, if something is a really high amount, we often say, oh, that's eye-watering. It means it's so high, it makes our eyes water. So the Millennium Bridge is to undergo a refurbishment worth up to 3.5 million, with work expected to begin in the spring. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see. I have a message here. I finally got the notification about your live. Let me say how I'm glad to be with you all. Oh, thank you. My question will be about Blue Monday, the most depressing day of a year. Have you heard something about that? Oh, and it's from Andre. Oh, hi, Andre. It's lovely to see you here. Yes, is it coming up then, Blue Monday, or was it last Monday, Blue Monday? I know there is a Blue Monday, and it's very popular here because many people are feeling very depressed after the holiday season, and it's a day when many people feel very sad, and mental health professionals warn us that some people might harm themselves on that day. So we should take great care and speak to people nicely. So yes, I do know about Blue Monday, but there is another celebration taking place here over the weekend. I say here, but probably I mean across the English world, and that's the celebration of the birth of the Scottish poet Robert Burns. Now, he's very famous in Scotland and America, as well as Canada, because many Scottish people went there. And his birthplace is a really celebrated place on the west coast of Scotland. Once a year on his birthday, Scottish people in the northern part of the UK, as well as those who are descended from Scotland, they'll be having a very big party reciting his poetry. And there's a very specific type of party that they like to have to celebrate him. His poetry is written in Scottish. It's not really easy to understand, but I'm sure you'll find some English presentations of it online. So that's coming up tomorrow on the 25th. So everyone's gearing up, preparing for that, at least in the northern part of the UK and overseas. I'm not really sure in London it's such a big deal. But getting back to your question about Blue Monday, yeah, it is a thing, but I'm not quite sure how many people would even remember. I know it passed me by. It wasn't until you sent the message that I remembered. So yes, Very interesting, and thank you very much for bringing that to my attention. I have a friend actually who's saying he's depressed in January, but he always says that every year, so I just ignore him. Yeah, and I was just saying a moment ago there that the Millennium Bridge in London is going to have a major refurbishment worth up to 3.5 million, with work expected to begin in the spring, which is just a few months away. So that's making headline news. 3.5 million on a bridge when some people are living in poverty. So it's quite a big thing. The 25-year-old bridge famously closed soon after its opening for being too wobbly. Wobbly means shaky. So it closed 25 years ago. They fixed it and then reopened it, and now they're giving it another facelift to make it look beautiful. It says here it was part of a wider project to mark the new millennium. It linked St. Paul's Cathedral with the Tate Modern Gallery on the south side of the Thames. It was quickly closed due to excessive swaying. And that's a word I think came up last week in our lessons. To sway is to move, to shake a little bit, but more in a way like this. So it's not really a fast shaking. To sway is when it moves with the wind. So it got the nickname Wobbly Bridge. Wobbly Bridge. And it opened again in 2002 and has had work to stabilize it. And now they're saying that it's already beginning to get worn because it's made of aluminium, which I suppose is a better material for making bridges. Right, so any more questions, Andre, or from anyone else? If you do think of anything you'd like to ask me about English life, English culture, exams, anything that you're curious about in the English world, please tell me, and I'll do my best to answer them. At the start of the lesson, I was just giving you a few little tips at the start of this live session about your learning. And New Year's a great time to review your learning materials. But you know, what I've discovered as a teacher is it's really important before you sit down to study, just to take a moment to say to yourself, I'm going to be open. I'm open my mind now to receiving what's in this book. I put away other thoughts just to focus. And I want to focus in and to hear what this book is saying to me. And that's a very, very different thing from expecting the information to magically jump up and somehow move you and find its way into your head. So it's really important to prepare yourself mentally for anything that you're doing. And that's a really good thing to be doing first thing in the morning when you get out of bed, just to say to yourself, okay, I'm going to be open now. And that sets you up nicely for the day to receive information that's coming to you. It's a habit I've had for a number of years because as you get older, cynicism creeps in. And it's really important that you try to negate that, to have a healthy, positive way of looking at learning. It's really important. I'll be telling you a little bit later about some things I'm considering doing online with English, with my website, with YouTube. Maybe you can give me some feedback on those. If you're watching this on the replay, you can send me a message. But I'm always interested to hear what you think and what your expectations are about online learning. It can be quite scary if there's only yourself without a teacher trying to navigate the complex world. But I can assure you that learning will always begin and end with your mindset, with your approach. Because as we say in English, a fountain, the thing with the water, it can go no higher than the pump, that bit under it that pushes the water up, the little electrical thing. Um, and it's the same with us. The only thing that holds us back from learning is our belief. So if we think we can't do something, then we can't do it. And if we believe we can, then it will get done. So it really starts with you. So you need to come to learning with the correct mental attitude and with a can do attitude rather than a cannot. It's really important, and I can't stress that enough. I know that those of you who come from the Russian region, some of you have been telling me that this idea of motivation is kind of a new thing, because I know teachers, not only in Russia, but China as well, they're there to give you information. They're not there to motivate you. So you might find what I'm saying a little bit strange, but here in the West, it's all about getting you into the right mindset, because only then can you hear what we have to say, and you'll be much more open if that happens. Right, let's do another news story. So we already have spoken about stamps being produced by the post office, and we also spoke about the Millennium Bridge. There's another story here about a rock legend called Jeff Beck. I've no idea who that is, Jeff Beck. But it says here, rock legend Jeff Beck's collection has sold for 8.7 million. No, doesn't do anything for me, I'm afraid, Jeff Beck. Maybe you know who it is. It says here more than 120 guitars from legendary rock musician Jeff Beck's career have been sold at auction for 8.7 million, more than 8 times the original estimates. A 1954 Ox Blood guitar, which featured on the cover of the musician's album, was bought for £1,068,500. I don't know who he is. He looks like a typical rock legend. He has the long hair. But Jeff Beck, I've never heard of him. Mrs. Beck, I'm assuming that's his wife, I don't know. It says, I'm so happy that Jeff's guitars have been so popular amongst his fans and friends. Thank you so much for your belief in Jeff's legacy. The legacy just means the ideas that he left behind. No idea who that is, Jeff Beck. Maybe if you've heard of him, you can tell me. Jeff Beck. Don't know who that is. Well, we'll come back to that in a moment. So remember, I'm here to help you with any questions you might have about English, English language, English grammar, English exams, anything English from the English-speaking world. And I'm going to try to help. I was saying there, we're going to also just talk about some things that have been happening in the last week, and also my hopes for your English for the future. Andre has another question here. He says, could you say what is more important, the goal, motivation, why we should learn English, or just enjoying the process? Sure, Andre, I'm happy to help with that. Let me just plug in my laptop here, because I'm using a Surface laptop, and for some reason the charge cord is very small. It just drops out sometimes. So let me just plug that back in. There we are. Right. So the question is, could you say what is more important, the goal, motivation, why we should learn English, or just enjoy the process? Well, I suppose it's a little bit like when you start a new job or any new project, everyone's different. Some people, especially men, are more motivated by getting there, by the goal. I think the problem, though, is when you learn a language, it's not really clear what the goal is. And many people struggle with trying to work out what is that? Is the goal simply about you speaking fluently? And what does that look like? Saying hello to people in the morning? Understanding the news reports? Being understood at work? Or is it about your hobby? Being able to describe the cow in the field? It's a very wide thing, and it's very hard to work out what the goal actually is. Um, so you said here, can you say what's more important, the goal motivation, why we should learn English, or just enjoy the process? For me personally, it's about enjoying the process because every day is new. I get up in the morning, I have my moment where I tell myself I'm going to welcome this new day. And if I fail, I have tomorrow to do that again. Um, if you have a goal, the problem is if you put it in a box with a date of 6 months, I want to be fluent. It's a bit of a unclear goal to begin with, unless you've already defined what goal is. And then if you miss a day, you'll be getting the whip. Oh, terrible me. Because I didn't do that thing yesterday. So I always think daily to start anew with your idea is better. Having said that, though, many of you I know are really under pressure, especially with work. If you have a family to provide, to be the provider, uh, perhaps you have kids, for example, it's really important to always have a source of income. And so it's not always as easy just to say, well, I'll stay focused on the moment, because you need to have uh, a set time scale or a timetable for when things are going to change. So I do understand it's not so easy as I'm describing, especially when you're under pressure. Having said all of that, though, I think it does come down to the type of person you are. Um, Whatever way you look at it, though, um, if you're doing something that you don't want to do, let's say that you have a job and they tell you that you must learn English in 6 months. Yeah, of course, that can be very intimidating, and it could rob you of your joy. If you're doing something that you really, really don't want to do, I know that people here love learning English. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here on a random YouTube talk. But if you're doing something that you really, really don't want to do, then you need to examine that, um, because you'd have to get motivated before you can do it. For me personally, for the boss just to say, I expect this of you, isn't enough. I mean, I'm doing a university course at the moment, and some bits of it I love, I'm really interested in. And they have expectations that I'll have essays and things done. And for me, the deadlines are quite frightening because I'm not the kind of person who works well with deadlines. Um, so each day when I wake up, I have to tell myself, right, today I'm going to enjoy doing this project and make sure I get it done by the deadline. But yeah, I can't ignore the deadline either. So a few things to think about there. Do you really enjoy English enough to give it more time? Um, Really, I think a good way to know is to check your joy level. Just keep an eye on how happy you are when you're learning. Also, how much money and time you're investing in it. These are all really good signs to show if you're on the right track. Um, You should be enjoying the process, though. I mean, if you don't enjoy the process of learning, either there's something wrong with the books you're using, there's something wrong maybe with the teacher that you have, or you're just not motivated, you know? Um, so, yeah, it needs further examination, I would say. Um, a lot to think about. If you have any more questions about that, send them over. But yeah, everyone's different. But yeah, it's not easy, that's for sure. Especially if you're coming at something, if you're a little bit older, you know. Right, so I'm here today to answer any questions you have about learning English. Maybe you have a grammar question, or English life, English culture, English living. Maybe you have an exam coming up, or you're looking for some ideas on how to study better. So any questions you have, please put them in the question box, and I'll do my best to answer. And if I don't have an answer, I'm sure I can find one for you. And in the meantime, we're just looking at some news headlines, and I also want to share with you my own hopes and dreams for taking my website forward to attract new students, to post more things to help you on your learning journey. One of the hardest things for me, I think, with running a YouTube channel is to make sure that I reach the audience that I want to reach. I'm not someone who's interested in SEO marketing. And, when I hear people saying, oh, you should do more to market your YouTube, and daily I get emails from marketers trying to sell me SEO courses or to offer help with search engine optimization, that kind of stuff, I'm really not interested in. For me, it's about helping you. That's my first priority, but also to make sure that my YouTube channel is visible. I mean, there's so many YouTube clips on there. There's over 1,000 podcasts to help you. Oh, there's Fabio. Hi, Fabio. I hope you're doing well today. Um, so, yeah, Fabio, we're just doing the same as usual. We're just saying that I'm here to help you with your English. If you have any questions about English life, grammar, culture, exams, whatever you want, send them over. Same as usual, Fabio. We're doing some news stories as well. And I just started off by saying there that, I've got no interest in internet marketing. None whatsoever. And it's nice to see my YouTube channel growing, but I need to give it a push. I'm always getting these emails from marketers, but I have no interest in buying an audience or somehow pushing my channel out there. I am, however, thinking about maybe setting up some kind of uh, specialized part of the site focusing on pronunciation and these things, because that's my first love: communication, pronunciation, getting you to speak well. So I'd really love to expand on that, but I don't know how easy that would be. um uh, what says, please, pronunciation of wonder to wonder? Yeah, that's a very good question, Fabio. um Wonder and wonder. Yeah, even when I say them, I'm thinking, they sound the same. Yeah, so it all comes down to the difference between the letter O and the letter A between some words. Let me just say both of them just to get it clear in my head what the difference is. So the word wonder with an O sound, wonder, is what you're referring to there with um, your first word. That's wonder, W-O. And wonder, it sounds almost the same. I'm going for a wonder, and I wonder. There is a very slight difference with the O sound with the first one. With the second one, it's not wonder. It's not an exact A sound. I wonder, going for a wander. Yeah, I would say the way you would recognize them is with the tone of the voice, because to go for a wonder has a slightly different tone rather than saying, I'm wondering about the answer to that question. Also, it's slightly longer, I think, maybe because um, I'm wandering around and I'm wondering the answer to that question. Uh, yeah, wandering. I would make the A a bit longer, but the best way is the context, I think. It's probably how you would know. I don't suppose you can hear the difference I'm making with wander and wander. Little bit with an A, just a little bit more, but even I can't really hear it, so you're not going to pick that up, I think. So context, um, I'm wandering around, I'm wondering about that question. Yeah, definitely the tone. The tone will be a bit longer, a bit deeper with wonder. Does that help? They still sound the same. Yeah. The best way to see it is the context. I think if you look at the context of the sentence, I'm wandering around. I mean, or going for a wander. You can maybe hear it there with wonder as opposed to wonder. Yeah, it's a hard one, that, Fabio. It's a difficult one. Go for the context. The sentence itself will tell you. Don't worry too much about the pronunciation, I would say. Yeah, it is very hard. I agree with you. I agree. I'm wondering about that. I'm wandering around. Yeah, wondering, wandering, wondering, wandering. My mouth is definitely a bit lower. Wandering, one. So one, one. Yeah. Yeah, very hard to find the difference there. But there is a slight difference if you look for it. But yeah, go for the context, because most people, when they speak anyway, might not make that difference that I'm making. You can't hear it anyway, so. Yeah, the context of the sentence. I'm going for a wander, I'm wandering around, or I'm just wondering what you mean. Yeah. Hmm. This is a hard thing about English with pronunciation, isn't it? It's not just with that word. We have many others as well, where the pronunciation itself um, sounds the same in two words. Would, for example, I would do that for you, and wood, which you're burning on the fire, those words are identical, but yet spelt very differently. You know, there's loads of words like that in English. It can be very confusing. Um, yeah, if you slow down the audio enough, though, you will hear a very slight difference, I think, especially with could. Uh, could wood wood for the fire? No, they're definitely the same. But with your words, wonder and wonder, there is a slight difference, I think. Very slight difference. Right, any more questions? If you have, please send them over. Um, we are talking about um, any questions you have regarding English life, English culture, English grammar, English pronunciation. And I was just saying there that I'm thinking about introducing a new part to my YouTube or to my website, all about pronunciation, because that's my love. I do love teaching English, but more so, I love communication. And I'm also thinking about recording some audiobooks. Maybe that's the place where English teachers go to die. When we get older, when we can no longer travel around the world. We've still got nice voices, so audiobooks are our thing. It's a bit like broadcasters, and journalists. They spend their life giving us the news, and then towards the end of their lives, they end up on classical music radio stations, where they can play one track for 20 minutes and say, And yes, that was Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. And that's all they have to say for another 20 minutes, you know? So it's very interesting. Yes. But yeah, communication's always my first love. Which reminds me, on one of my live broadcasts in the future, I really want to introduce you to the world of radio. I can sit for hours just adjusting the dial, trying to find that perfect radio station. And maybe that's something that I can share with you in the future. Well, Fabio, I know that you joined us late, but we have gone through some news stories already that Britain is producing some new stamps celebrating armor and arms, weapons, but old ones, not guns, but medieval weapons. We had another news story about the Millennium Bridge, which is being repaired with taxpayer money, of course. It's costing, I think, millions. So I'm sure many people will have something to say about that. And also, UK headlines are dogged with stories. Dogged just means pulled down or bogged with stories about President Trump and what he's doing. I think the problem is that we mirror American politics. So what tends to happen is whatever happens in the States ripples over the pond. In other words, comes over the sea and affects us as well. We often refer to Americans as across the pond, across the water. A very big pond, if you ask me. A pond is just a very small amount of water. So, yeah, because of changes in views over there about diversity, I think our foundations here about diversity will also be changing. What that looks like, I don't know, but there's already some ripples in our political system. You know, we have some far right parties coming up now, which um, are gaining a lot of ground politically. So again, that just shows how some views are mirroring American politics. So that's in our news today as well. Um, Lots of sad stories here. And I just finished a story about Jeff Beck. I have no idea who that is, but anyway, they've sold his guitars. Um, Yeah, other things making the news today is our hospital system. It's considered to be underfunded, not well managed. If you go to the local hospital, you can expect to be there for at least 8 to 9 hours. If you're in the London area, you could even be there for around 24 hours before you're seen. And there's a news story here. It says, "My eye-opening day at Accident and Emergency Department." We call them A and E. That's our way of referring to um, the Accident and Emergency Department. We tend just to use the letters. Some people call it casualty, the casualty department. And we're going to read what it says here. It says, "It's Thursday morning. It's Swansea's Morriston Hospital, and both staff and patients face a grim day ahead." By the way, that's another word that sounds the same. Patients, people at the hospital, and patience. To have a lot of patience with someone. You know, it's another one of those words where very fine nuance in pronunciation. Fabio, you're asking, do children study foreign languages at school in the UK? Yes, but not until they're at least 12. So they don't study any languages before that. There are exceptions. There are now Gaelic schools where the indigenous language is taught extensively, and the subjects are taught in Gaelic as well. Those are really big, fashionable things in Scotland. If you go to a specialist school, like a Jewish school, for example, probably you'll learn Hebrew uh, very, very quickly. Islamic schools will be teaching Quranic Arabic, and colloquial Arabic. We have a few of those. So we have specialist schools. They teach their kids mother tongue languages younger, but the majority and the state schools, uh, no, not until they're 12. And even then, what we get taught isn't really very good. But there's a much wider variety now than before, depending on the area. I hope that helps. Right, yeah, this story is saying how bad our accident and emergency system is. It says here it's Thursday morning, 8 ambulances are queuing up. There's 85 patients waiting for a bed. One patient has been sitting on a hard plastic chair for 44 hours. We're here to witness the inner working of the hospitals. This is written by a reporter. And it goes on to say someone has a blood clot, they're sitting there. One of the senior nurses admits that he's no longer able to give the fundamentals of care to all patients. And the other ones here are complaining, saying it's just not possible to do all the things. Yeah, I must say, when I was at a hospital last time, a couple of years ago now, I think, yeah, I waited 8-9 hours. Having said that, the northern part of the UK is much better than the south. But it's interesting. What's this? Okay, here's a question. How does one master an accent? For example, a North American accent or a British accent? That's a very good question. And I would say shadowing. Let's think of how a children learns their accents. They don't have books. They can't understand anything. So they just hear and repeat. That's what gives them their accent. And when you're an adult, you do that by shadowing, listening to a native speaker on a podcast, repeating what he's saying, but not because you want to understand the words, because you want to hear the intonations. You want to hear his voice going up and down. You want to catch the exact sound. So what that means in practice is that you would have to listen to a native speaker consistently from the area that you want the accent for. Okay, so if you want to have an American accent, America's a big place. You first have to focus in on who you want to be in the American world. Let's say, for example, you want to be or to imitate someone from Boston. Okay, so once you've decided on Boston, make sure all your media is from that area. Make sure you're listening to Boston speakers and hear them, imitate them. Hear them, imitate them. Like a game a child would play. Don't think about the meaning. Don't get academia involved. Just keep repeating for, let's say, 20 minutes every day. That's how you do it. It's really good because it'll help you talk faster. It'll also help you pick up those little nuances and will also expose you to idioms if you go back and check the vocabulary of what you've just listened to. So that is how you master an accent. Children, they don't study accents, they just do it. They just hear and say. And that is what you must do as well. Frightening, isn't it? But it's not actually that hard if you surrender to it. If you just let go, it happens automatically. But once you bring in your thinking and what did that person just say, I recognize that word, yeah, that's where it gets tough. That's where it gets hard. If you have any other questions, let me know. That's why I'm here today. I'm trying to answer your questions. We'll go just for another 5 minutes or so to see if anyone else has any more questions. And I was just telling you about the state of our National Health Service, very specifically about this hospital in Swansea, which is saying it just can't cope. It's doing its best, but it's quite frightening. There's pictures here, particularly of older people who are sitting waiting for treatment. Um, yeah, that's well, horrible trying to see that. I'm sure it might be the same in your country, and it's one thing which our government is tasked with changing, but it would take a lot of money. So I think probably in the future here in the UK, we're going to be seeing some charges being brought in for things like missed appointments. Somebody said, I think it was Fabio. Somebody was asking, uh, they said, you're so lucky in the UK. I wanted to ask them why. Oh, there it is. Do children study foreign languages? Yeah, we answered that. And then you said, you're so lucky in the UK. Why are we lucky, Fabio? Because you study foreign languages at school as well. In fact, you start much earlier with languages than we do. So why would you think we are lucky? You're lucky because you don't have to study English. Yeah, as I was saying to Andre at the start of this podcast, he was asking about whether motivation and having a goal is the best way to study, or whether just enjoying the process. Yeah, I think checking your joy level regularly is really important, but kids don't, unfortunately, have that available to them. They're just told, you will study, you will do this now, and you will enjoy. Um, some workplaces are like that as well, aren't they? So, yeah, um, you are uh, quite right there. I was saying that now that I'm doing another university course, it's quite frightening, these deadlines. They're not very forgiving if you don't submit something on time. And I'm still trying to enjoy the process because that's just who I am. Deadlines make me fearful. They don't encourage me to study, they encourage me to get stressed. So, yeah, every day when I wake up, I have to make a conscious decision. I take a moment and I say, right, I'm going to open my mind here uh, to learning today. I'm going to make that choice. And when you do that, it actually becomes much easier. I know it sounds weird that that works, but once you give yourself permission, once you just take a moment to say, okay, I'm here and I'm going to like this, I'm going to enjoy it, I'm going to be open to receiving, you would be amazed at what that does. At least for me, anyway. Yeah, because I'm waking up in the morning saying, kill, kill, kill. Uh, so, oh, Andre's asking, have healthcare service improved in the last 20 years? Okay, so has the healthcare service improved in the last 20 years is your question. Is it becoming better in your opinion? The most interesting thing is long queues. That seems very strange, and you want to say unsafe. Um, no, it's actually getting worse, Andre. Uh, but I don't think it's all to do with the healthcare system. I mean, it hasn't changed. I think it's to do with how we live, because many people now have very different ideas about what healthcare is. For example, I know someone, and I won't mention any names here, but I know someone who uh, at the first sign of a problem, oh, I've got a headache today. Oh my God, this could be something serious. I will go to accident and emergency. Yeah, I know someone here who's very like that. And I think uh, we're living in an environment where we expect quick answers. We want everything fixed immediately. And our health service hasn't changed. It's giving us the same service it gave 20 years ago. Of course, with modern answers, but it can't just keep expanding, and it doesn't help when you have things like WebMD, where, you have a pain in your finger, you Google it, a WebMD tells you, well, it could be anything. It could be a pain in your finger that'll go away by tomorrow, or it could be cancer. And of course, you rush to A&E to get it looked at very quickly. So this is the world we're living in. So I don't think it's all about our medical system. And then, of course, people just don't turn up for appointments either, and that apparently costs them a lot of money. But let me be very clear here, though. I don't like particularly the medical system that we have, because I've realized that I'm dealing with a system. I'm not dealing with a person. I'm dealing with something which is controlled by cash. And that system isn't really so concerned about me. It's more concerned about its own survival. So doctors are very nice and everything, but all they're doing is asking the system what they're going to do with me. And I think in November, I made a decision just to stop all of my diabetes medication. By the way, I'm not a doctor, and I'm not offering any medical advice here. What I am saying is that I'm a person of principle. If I believe something, then I will take action in my life to back up what I say. I won't just, say the thing and then do nothing. I take action to back it up. So yeah, because I've got a really strong objection to the medical system and the way it operates as a faceless, especially now, we can't talk to a doctor. It's only on the telephone. So I made a decision to stop all of my medication because I just think it's, especially the pharmaceutical system, it's just one big money-making circle. And I'm also helping other people by stopping it, because if I don't partake of it, it leaves room for somebody else, maybe who does need to talk to a doctor or whatever. So it's getting worse, and I think we need to take our own responsibility for our health, just as I am. If I drop dead tomorrow, I can say I did it my way, just like the Frank Sinatra song, But yeah, that's not medical advice, by the way. I'm just saying. So, so to answer your question, yeah, healthcare service is getting worse. Any other questions about English learning, English life, English culture? Anything anybody wants to ask about anything related to our way of life here in the UK or in America? I'll do my best. Any questions about grammar? Any questions about anything related to learning, exams, pronunciation? Is there anything that any of you want to ask? There's 4 of us here now, so I'll give it another 5 minutes. If anybody has any questions, please send them over and I'll do my best to answer. Probably the most interesting question of today so far has been wonder and wonder. Very slight nuance in pronunciation, but very, very hard for a non-native speaker to pick that up, I think. So the context of the question, I think it makes it clearer. So if you have anything, send it over. In the meantime, let's just look again at another news story. Can you pass an English exam from 1913? Let's read this. I rather think the answer is probably going to be no. They have some questions here. This is on the BBC News website, by the way, if you're interested. It's under BBC News, and it's saying, could you pass an English exam from 1913? You'll find it on their site. They've got some sample questions. Let's see. Well, they're talking about the Cambridge English exams. Yeah, grammar has changed since 1913, they're saying here. So probably most of us wouldn't be able to see if this is correct. Interesting. Yeah, if you're on the BBC website later, do have a look. Oh, Jordi, hello. How are you today? Jordi is from Spain. Well, Jordi, do you have any questions you'd like to ask about learning English or about English life, culture? Oh, by the way, I haven't looked at your recipe yet for tortilla patata, but it sounds delicious. I'll definitely have a look at that later. But if any of you have any questions, please do send them over and we'll have a little look. Yeah, I'm just reading a news story here. They've posted some questions from a 1913 English exam, and they're wondering if people today would be able to pass it. Oh, my goodness me, this really is a Spanish day. Hi, Chris. I hope you're doing well. I know you also are in Spain. Oh, yeah, I have a class with you later. So, yeah, I'll need to go in a bit and get ready for that. Yeah, very good. Very good. Any questions? Send them over. English life, language, culture, please do pass them over and I'll try to answer them here. Let's see if I can look at these questions from 1913 just to see if we can do them together. Oh no, I don't even understand these questions. I think I'll leave them for another day. Oh, that's funny. Frightening. They're saying here how the English language has changed over the years. Yeah, these questions are very, very serious. They're not just about grammar. These questions seem to be very thought-provoking regarding logic. Correct or justify 4 of the following sentences, giving your reasons. The first one says, I hope you are determined to seriously improve. I wouldn't know what to start with that. Yeah, let's move on to something easier. Yeah, I was just saying there about our healthcare system. Another very dangerous thing here in the UK are dogs. It says here, how dangerous are some kinds of dogs? And what about this ban that's coming in? Yeah, our government recently made a decision to ban some kind of dogs. And it says here, it is a year since strict rules about owning XL bully dogs were first introduced in England and Wales. The law is very different in Scotland and Northern Ireland. It says here, the restrictions now cover the whole of the UK, but there have been a number of attacks involving the dogs, some fatal, since the laws were put in place. What is an American XL bully and how dangerous are they? An XL bully is the largest kind of an American bully dog. They are described as large with a muscular body and blocky head. It just means their head is big. There's a picture here. Oh dear, they don't look friendly. That's for sure. It says here there's no official figures for the number of these dogs in the UK. I think the law says you can't breed them, and if you have one, you can keep it, but you're no longer allowed to buy them. How many dog attacks are there in the UK? Wow, dog attacks, there are a lot, but cows are more dangerous than dogs, and that's official. Yeah, our cows are really, really dangerous. And if you go to a site called killercows.co.uk, you'll see how dangerous cows are. Last summer, I was walking in the countryside and a group of cows surrounded me. Yeah, I was a bit afraid. I had to quickly run away and cross the water so they couldn't chase me because they knock you to the ground and then jump on you. Scary, isn't it? Yeah, if you ever come to the UK, stay away from cows. Seriously, I know it sounds funny, but yeah, cows, dangerous. Don't go there. Killercows.co.uk is the website. Yeah, really frightening. Yeah. I woke up Last year, I looked out the window and there was a cow in my garden. Frightening. Um, you've read my PDF about shadowing. I believe he is Spanish. He's a linguist specialist. Can you tell something about the system? Read something aloud is also good. Yeah, well, I was just talking about shadowing, Jordi, so you can check it out in the replay. But I was saying that if you want to uh, really have a good accent, there's a few things you have to do. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is to choose your place. Now, that's not an easy question. It's not just about, I want to sound like an English person. You really need to choose a place that you feel some kind of affiliation with, some kind of personal interest in. Once you've chosen that place, then you need to make sure that your media comes from that place. I mean, you can watch and listen to other media, of course, but for the purposes of shadowing and learning, you want the same accents. Yeah. And then when you've done that, uh, you gather your material from that area. And as I was saying earlier, this is how children learn. Children can't read or write. Okay, so they just hear and they say based on what's happening around them. The danger for adults when they try to do shadowing is they get lost in this world of academia. They begin to start analyzing words. Oh, I know that word. What does it mean? Oh, yeah, I recognize that place that they're referring to. Kids can't do that because they don't understand anything. So you have to play a game. You have to become like a child again. You hear someone talking, you repeat. Hear someone, repeat. Hear someone, repeat. If you want a nice accent, I can heartily recommend my accent. I think it's not too bad. So you can shadow with me or choose something from the London area. That's probably a safe place, unless you're looking for an American accent, of course. But you don't want to be thinking about what the person's saying. Just hear, say. Hear, say. That's all. Just hear, imitate. It's not just about the letters. And those of you who've taken classes with me, you know that I've used that anti-moon sound chart. It has the 50 sounds of English on it. If you want it, you can just Google it, anti-moon English sounds, and it'll show you 2 columns of vowels and consonants. So yeah, what you don't want to do though is you don't want to begin to look at words, get bogged down by academia. Keep it simple. Hear a sound, say a sound, but also you want to be looking at the tone. Where does the person leave gaps? How do they push the words together? So you really have to have a keen ear and eye. Ear, of course, because you're listening. So that's really, really important. So in order to get a really good accent, shadowing is the way to do it, but not academically. Don't print it off and try to read it. Just hear, say, hear, imitate. Don't try to get into, oh, I know that word. I'm sure I recognize that somewhere. Um, yeah, and if you want a copy of the PDF that Georgie's referring to there, it's on my website, teacherjoseph.com. Under free stuff, you'll see a booklet called Speaking Better. I think that's the one Geordie is referring to. So you're saying here, Geordie, read something aloud is also good. The whole point is reading aloud. Okay, because that's how you articulate, how you form and practice your accents. So this isn't just mental, you always should be reading aloud. All right, just so that you know. And while you're on my website, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and do like some of the videos there. This one will be available shortly, because when I stop this recording, it will appear as a live recording. And I need to go now because I have my first lesson in a little while with Chris, which is always delightful. I love having a chat with Chris. Um, yeah, thank you, Jordi. And yeah, so I'll see you all again soon. I have to go now. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm so looking forward to seeing you all again. Don't forget, go to my YouTube. You'll see the videos. This one will be under the live section. There's also lots of YouTube shorts on there for you to see. Plenty of stuff. All right, so I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye bye.